Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Jackson Arnold, Hugh Freeze, Auburn heading on the road to Norman, Oklahoma Saturday afternoon. And look, let's just be straight up about this one. There are not many people in the national media that are giving Auburn much of a chance in this football game. How does Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold go on the road to Norman and shock the world? And look, I'll be the first one to put my hand up and say I did take Oklahoma in this football game as well. But we make no mistake about it, this Auburn team has the roster, has the talent to go on the road and get this one done. We've been saying this from the jump all the way back in spring practice. Not necessarily sure how it's going to all come together for Auburn, but you make no mistake about it. The roster that they have heading into the season, they got the roster to bang with anybody in the country. They have the roster to beat anybody in the country. Can it all come together? Can you play your best football and come away with a win? That's the conversation I want to get into. And what I really want to focus on is the national media will really focus on the Jackson Arnold coming back to Norman storyline, which is certainly a factor here. It's probably the biggest storyline heading into this one. I think there are some other matchups that I think are really intriguing. And I think specifically there are some matchups that could favor Auburn in this football game that I want to get into. Before we do, and as always, to the Auburn fans, hey, I wouldn't mind quick vibe check in the comment section. How are many of the Auburn fans feeling about this game sitting here on a Wednesday afternoon? And to the Auburn fans checking this one out, appreciate you guys. Many of y'all been rocking with the boys for a very long time. We've been covering Hugh Freeze ever since he took this job, like building this roster. The amount of support this fan base has shown the boys been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Biggest question, biggest storyline to me is what kind of defense do we see Brent Venables in Oklahoma come out in? There's two different storylines. Does Oklahoma come out, put bodies in the box, send some pressure on Jackson Arnold, or do they play with their two safeties high and try to prevent Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton getting loose down the field? That's the storyline. I think there's one outcome that's pretty damn likely. And I think Oklahoma's probably going to put bodies in the box and send some pressure against Jackson Arnold. And I would not blame Brent Venables for doing so. Number one, he coached Jackson Arnold. He knows the strengths. He knows the weaknesses, as long as many Auburn fans do too. Jackson Arnold has historically really struggled when teams decide to blitz him. You look at the sample size that we got through 3 games. When he's not blitzed, 82% completion percentage, 8.9 yards per attempt. When you give Jackson Arnold some time, he's been really damn good. But when he gets heated up, the completion percentage drops to 57%, only 5.9 yards per pass attempt. I would, especially with our Mason Thomas, who's Oklahoma's best pass rusher, out for the first half, I would be stunned if Brent Venables does not take that approach. Hey, we're going to put bodies in the box. We're going to try to take away the run game, and we're going to send some pressure at Jackson Arnold. Here's the storyline. How does Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze decide to deal with this pressure? That to me has to be the biggest focal point throughout the week for Auburn. To say we are going to see pressure, and we're going to come in with a really strong game plan to help Jackson Arnold deal with the blitz packages that Oklahoma is going to send. The thing that I'm looking at for the most is how quickly is the ball getting out of Jackson Arnold's hands. Look, I think Jackson Arnold has been really sharp to start 2025. I know the national media, they'll be nitpicky about Jackson Arnold for as long as he's playing. I think he's been really solid. The one knock you have on his game is that the ball's taken a little bit longer to come out. Now, to be fair for him, he's had that kind of time. Like, Auburn's offensive line has held up in pass protection. They have not seen that many dominant defensive fronts. Average time to throw so far for Jackson Arnold is 2.99 seconds, which is very, very long. And I promise you that will not be the average time to throw that we see in this football game. It's going to come down to 2 things. Number one, Jackson Arnold finding his answers quickly. But just as importantly, is Hugh Freeze giving him easy answers quick to get the ball out of his hands. The best way to deal with these blitz packages, just get the ball out quick. You got playmakers that if you can get the football to Malcolm Simmons, or to, a guy like Eric Singleton, Horatio Fields, Cam Coleman, you can get the football into their hands. They going to do the rest for you because they're going to have some one-on-one matchups on the outside if Oklahoma decides to send pressure. Here's the other thing. Jackson Arnold in the deep ball. Because if Oklahoma is putting their safeties in the box, trying to stop the run and send some pressure, look, you're going to have your ones. You're going to have your one-on-one matchups on the outside. Jackson Arnold so far, 4 of 7, 20-plus yards down the field. He hasn't had a ton of opportunity to push the ball down the field yet because you've seen a lot of defenses play with 2 high safeties and kind of take away some of that deeper third stuff. You're going to have the opportunity in this game. Can you when you have the opportunity to hit some big-time explosive plays, can you come up and make those plays? Because you make no mistake about it, I would be stunned if Auburn just routinely moves the football on Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma, we got a little too much respect for what Oklahoma is on the defense side of the football. Here's the thing. Can you be explosive? Kind of like what Texas A&M did to Notre Dame last weekend, Saturday night. Texas A&M wasn't all that efficient, but golly, they were explosive. They found a lot of different plays that can change that football game. Can Auburn do the same thing on the road here? And that requires Jackson Arnold making the throws. That requires those wide receivers going up and making plays too. Now, what if Oklahoma decides to play with a light box? Which is largely what Auburn's seen. If we're being honest, go back to that Baylor game. Baylor just leaving the 2 safeties high, saying, hey, we ain't going to give you the opportunity to push the ball down the field. So you're going to have to settle with some underneath stuff and settle with the run game. If Oklahoma takes this approach and they decide to show a lot of respect to these Auburn pass catchers, the biggest question is, can Auburn run the football on Oklahoma when they're giving you a light box? That'll be the storyline. I got a lot of respect for Oklahoma's front seven. I think they got a couple of big bodies in the middle, Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams. I think they got really good off-ball linebackers. Got a lot of respect for them. But I also have a ton of respect for how we've seen Auburn run the football as well. And if they give you a light box, especially with Jackson Arnold showing you that he is not afraid to use his legs as well, I think Auburn's got a chance to run the football in some light boxes. I don't think you're going to get all that many light boxes, but if you do, can you show you can run the football into some light boxes and force Oklahoma to drop bodies into the box to stop the run? Those are the matchups that I'm looking at. But I think it's the biggest storyline is, can Jackson Arnold show that he can beat these blitz packages that Brent Venables is going to throw at you? Because you know he's going to throw some blitz packages at you and say, can we make explosive plays, but can we also take care of the football and not give Oklahoma any short fields? Flipping over to the defense side of the football, biggest storyline for me, man, tackling in space has been a problem, and it's got to be better. If Auburn wants to win this football game, tackling in space, and I misspelled tackle on the banner, so y'all know I ain't the best speller. If I guess to get back, I got a little distracted by misspelling tackle, my bad. Oklahoma's offense has done a really good job getting the football out quick to their playmakers. Whether that's Jaron Kanik at tight end, whether that's Deion Burks at wide receiver, whether that's Isaiah Satania at wide receiver. This is an offense under Ben Arbuckle that's doing a really good job manufacturing space for their pass catchers. They've acquired over 468 yards after the catch in the first 3 games. Their pass catchers have combined forced over 20 missed tackles. Where's Auburn struggled so far? Tackling in space. Baylor got after them when those players got in space, those Baylor pass catchers. Auburn was struggling to tackle. They've missed 35 tackles on the year. They've given up over 360 yards after the catch. If Auburn wants to win this football game, you have to tackle these playmakers in space. That's what Oklahoma is going to do. You just got to go out and execute. And here's the thing with Auburn, and this is kind of going over the defensive side of the football here. I think people sleep on what this Auburn defense can be, and I get it because it has not been great throughout the first 3 weeks. I know there's an elite version of this Auburn defense in this program. You're going to need it on Saturday afternoon. If you can swarm, tackle in space, limit the yards after the catch opportunities, that's step number 1. Number 2, dealing with Mateer's legs. And this is where I do think that Auburn has a unique advantage in this football game for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, you got really athletic linebackers. And whether you're going to be kind of like some delayed blitzes with your linebackers, whether you're kind of doing some quarterback spy stuff, there are not a lot of linebackers that I think can run, chase, and tackle John Mateer. John Mateer is just a really good football player. He's a really good athlete. Guys like Xavier Atkins, Auburn's got juice, man. Auburn's got juice at the linebacker position, and in my opinion, Xavier Atkins or a guy like DeMarcus Riddick, they going to have to be at their best running and chasing John Mateer. The second part is your athletic pass rush package. When it is 3rd and long, and look, Oklahoma will find themselves in 3rd and long because they don't run the football all that well. When it's 3rd and long and you go to that pass rush package, who are the 4 guys that are normally out there? Keldrick Falk normally kicks into the inside. You get Amaris Williams and Kieran Crawford coming off the edge, and Malik Blockton and Keldrick Falk on the inside. That's athletic. What Michigan really struggled with is Michigan's got a good defensive line, but it's not super athletic. You look at a guy like Derek Moore and say Derek Moore's really, really good, but he's not necessarily the best athlete when it comes to chasing down quarterbacks. Auburn's got a really athletic defensive front, especially in the pass rush situations. And that's number one. If you can control or at least do your best to mitigate the opportunities that John Mateer has to get outside the pocket and make some things happen, that's half the battle when it comes to stopping John Mateer in this Oklahoma offense. So if you can do a better job than Michigan did in terms of making sure you control John Mateer and keep him in the pocket, you put yourself in a good chance to give Oklahoma some problems on offense. Last thing that I'm interested in is, DJ Durkin. Will DJ Durkin send pressure? And look, normally he does, right? My question is, do you need to in this football game? Do you want to make sure Oklahoma can show they can block you up first? It is probably the question that I have. And I'll start with this. Oklahoma's offensive line, I think, has been pretty damn impressive throughout the first 3 weeks. It was bad. It was a problem last year. It's been a lot better so far. I look at this Auburn defensive line and say, I think you got a chance to give this Oklahoma offensive line, specifically in pass protection, some problems. If I'm DJ Durkin, and keep in mind, I'm just a kid in his basement. If I'm DJ Durkin, I'm waiting to start. Oklahoma needs to show me they can block our front 4 before we decide to bring some pressure. We'll see how DJ Durkin decides to play that. I think Auburn's way of beating Oklahoma is, can you dominate them up front? Is this Oklahoma offensive line legit or is it not? Because if it's not legit, Auburn's got an opportunity to get after John Mateer, and they have the athleticism to deal with what John Mateer wants to do outside the pocket in a better way than Michigan does, or Michigan did, I should say. We'll see. Going to be a really fun game. And again, is it on the surface kind of hard to pick Auburn in this game? Do I understand why the media, the pretty popular picks going with Oklahoma? Yeah, I get it. John Mateer's playing like a Heisman quarterback. This defense is really good. Make no mistake about it. Auburn is more than capable of going on the road and getting it done. They do have to they have to kind of do some of the things that we just talked about if they want to, though. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.